race. I don't live in New York, full disclosure. Been to New York a handful of times. New York is not on my, top list of cities I like to visit. I'm not opposed to New York, but whenever I go to New York, I'm there to take care of business and I leave. If I'm there to do comedy, I do the gig and I'm normally out of there the next day. If I'm there to watch a musical or if I'm there to watch, something cultural, I get there the night before. I'll spend the day there, like the full, daytime, go have breakfast, lunch or whatever, go see the event, whatever I came to see. And then the next morning I'm out of there. I'm on the first thing smoking. Not a big fan of New York. I have friends who absolutely adore New York. I have friends who've moved to New York and they're never going to come back. They love it so much. I'm not one of those guys, but I am fascinated by this race. New York is New York. That's New York, LA, those are like major cities, huge budgets, serious politics. And this Zoran Mamdani thing, I'm just really fascinated by this race. Like I said, the guy is very charismatic. He knows what he wants to do. The question is, will he be able to do it? But before we can even find out, how he would govern, he's got to win the race. So, as of right now, Zoran is still up. So let's watch a little bit. This is CBS News, New York. This was posted a few hours ago. Right now it's 3:15 Eastern Standard Time. Of course, you guys know I live in Florida, but so at the time that I made this video, Zoran Mamdani was still leading, and in some polls, I think most polls, he's up double digits. But let's check this out.
Polling numbers from Emerson College find Mamdani with a 25-point lead over Cuomo, 50% to 25%, while 21% support Sliwa. This, as 4% are undecided. At the same time, a new survey from Marist Institute for Public Opinion puts Mamdani at 48%, Cuomo at 32%, Sliwa at 16%, with just 3% undecided. And with early voting already underway, all three candidates are traversing the city to make their final pitch before Election Day. The latest.
Of course they are. Election Day is 4 days out. And as you can see, Mamdani is doing his thing. And I know I had a comment that was like, you can't even pronounce his name. I'm not watching your video. And my response to that in the comments was, hey, thanks for your comment. It's hilarious. I'm no professional media person. I'm just some dude on YouTube, right? I'm a retired air traffic controller who's a comedian and single dad. I mean, my thing. I'm just having fun. This is fun. I love this technology. I think it's amazing that we can get our opinions out there on this type of platform. And, like the public square has gotten so big, bro. Like the public square is now a global public square. And I'm not afraid to put my face out there, bro. And I'm not doing AI, man. I'm just getting sick and tired of seeing all this AI content, bro. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, CNBC. I think it's called the Squawk Box. CNBC, that's one of my favorite shows. I mean, Andrew Sorkin is one of the hosts on this particular show. And, they talk a lot about finance and what's going on with the global economy and what's going on with the American economy and all that good stuff. So today, early this morning, Andrew Yang, who came to prominence for running for president. I think the 2016 election, I think it was. Andrew Yang was the guy who was out there saying, hey, AI is coming. We need to come up with something to prepare people for what's going to happen with AI. And his thing was the freedom dividend, which is basically UBI, which is universal basic income, because he was saying, hey, AI is going to come and take all these jobs. And then, people are going to be out of work. What are we going to do? And he ran a campaign based on that, man. He ran a really good campaign. I've always been a fan of Andrew Yang just because of what he was saying. He was saying it way back when, and now here we are. It's here. AI is here. And the very jobs that he was talking about that AI would take eventually are now here taking the jobs initially. Andrew Yang was saying that he was really worried about truck drivers and all of the businesses and livelihoods that surround that industry. Because his big thing is like self-driving trucks are going to remove the truck drivers, and truck drivers make a lot of money. And then, all of the infrastructure that supports the truck drivers, the truck stops, the mechanics, the cooks, the, you know what I mean? Like the diners and all this kind of stuff and the shops that spring up around that. He was like, all that's going to go away. That's all really unskilled labor for the most part. Not the mechanics, of course, but everything else. He's like, we're going to have to come up with a plan for that. And back then, I think it was Obama who was saying, well, we just got to teach everybody the code. Like, that's not realistic. But anyway, Andrew Yang was talking about that way back when. AI is here now. And AI is not taking those jobs that people believe were going to go first, the low skill jobs. AI is going for the mid tier. It's going after lawyers. It's going after managers. It's going after all sorts of like the entry level college jobs. That's what's being hit first, which is crazy. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because, you know, Andrew Yang was talking about this a long time ago. This guy was ringing the bell on AI a very, very long time ago. And he's sitting on the set, CNBC, and he's talking to Andrew Sorkin. Andrew Sorkin, not only is he's like, in my opinion, the man when it comes to finance and like CNBC, I think he's one of their heavy hitters. This is the guy who is the author of Too Big to Fail. I haven't read this book yet, but I'm going to read the book. I did watch the HBO movie based on the book. And this is about the housing meltdown 2008 and all that kind of stuff. It was a great movie, HBO movie. There are 3 movies that you need to watch concerning what happened in 2008. And that would be Too Big to Fail, The Big Short, and Margin Call. Watch those 3 movies. And it's almost as if, I mean, it's like a trilogy, although they were made separately. It's just 3 different vantage points of what went down with the housing market and how the bankers handle it, how the politicians handled it, and how did the investors handle it. If you haven't seen those, great. Also, Andrew Sorkin has a new book out. It's called 1929. It's about the Great Depression. Like, okay, not just what caused the Great Depression or what the Great Depression was, but the stories of the individuals who were involved doing that whole thing in like their life and what they were doing. And, you know, it's just imagine like The Big Short or Too Big to Fail, but it happened, you know, back in 1929. And he has some really good interviews about his book. I'm going to order his book here real soon. I'm going to order Too Big to Fail and 1929, excuse me. I'm going to read both those books. And I suggest you guys do the same. But anyway, these 2 guys are having a conversation about the New York mayoral race. They both live in New York. They both have vested interest in this. I thought the conversation is really good. Let's check it out.
Join us right now for a conversation on the impact of artificial
Squawk
intelligence
Box, there
on
you go.
jobs, the AI bubble, the New York City mayoral race, and so much more. Andrew Yang, he's the former Democratic presidential candidate, former New York City mayoral candidate, and now founder and CEO of Noble Mobile. It's a new wireless carrier. It's a very cool idea. It's aimed to encourage customers, if you can believe this, to limit their use of phones. And we're going to talk more about that again as well. But let's start with New York because we are getting ever so close to the actual election. I'm curious where you land on your candidate of choice and what you think is happening in the city right now.
I talked to folks who have access to the early voter data, Andrew, and the early vote's been good for Cuomo in terms of the demographics, the location. It's going to be tighter than a lot of people think. I have chosen not to endorse in this race. I have people working for both campaigns and have endorsed on both sides. I also met with both candidates. Haven't met with Sliwa, though, that you know, I know him from a while ago. I just urge people to vote their genuine conscience and desire and not hew to traditional party lines. That's the message I put out.
What is it? What's your...
You know, I'm listening to this, and again, I have nothing but the highest regards for Andrew Yang and Andrew Sorkin. I just really do. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't have a lot of, you know, I'm not a groupie in no sense of the term whatsoever. I never get starstruck. You know, it's not people out there like, oh my God, I got to meet them. But I really would enjoy a conversation with both these guys. And I respect their opinion. But, you know, as you listen to this interview, you know, you got to understand something. Both these men are multimillionaires. And yeah, we know Andrew Yang is center left. You know, it is what it is. Definitely not MAGA. You know, he's not Republican. He was seeking the Democratic nomination to be president of the United States, and he has since, you know, formed his own political party. I think it's the Forward Party or something like that. You guys, you can look it up. I'm sorry. Matter of fact, I will find a link to his political party and I'll put it in the description so you guys can check it out. But I'm listening to him. He's like, I'm not going to endorse either one. So he's not going to stand with him or against him. He's not going to, you know what I mean? So he's like, well, I got people working in both campaigns. What does that have to do with anything, bro? You got people working in both campaigns. So what? I got a lot of Republican friends. I got a lot of, Democratic friends. I got MAGA people that I'm cool with. What does that have to do with anything? If I want to endorse something, I'm going to endorse it. You know what I mean? So he's hesitant to endorse, which leads me to believe that he doesn't want to endorse Zoran Mamdani. He just doesn't want to do it. And because what Zoran is doing is going to, it's going to hit his bottom line because he is a millionaire. He is probably part of that 1% of earners that Zoran Mamdani wants to add a 2% tax to. Like he wants to, or something, whatever what he's going to do. Right. So I just wanted to, pause right there to point that out. Like, Andrew Yang is a millionaire. Sorkin is a millionaire. They live in New York. And, it just, again, it makes this Mamdani guy a real dark horse. Like this is a dude that wasn't supposed to get past the gatekeepers. Zoran won the Democratic nominee in the city of New York. New Yorkers, Democrats wanted him overwhelmingly over Cuomo, which was like status quo. And the other guy, I guess that's the Republican. I don't even know who that dude is. Why is he always wearing a red beret, that guy? I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going.
Assessment, though, given that you've actually met with both men, and by the way, we've had Cuomo on the broadcast, we've had Sliwa on the broadcast, we have not had Zoran Mamdani on the broadcast, though we've sought the interview many times. What is your assessment of him on a relative basis to Cuomo right now?
So Zoran is a very charming, very charismatic, and very intelligent guy. And you meet with him and you feel, okay, this guy listens, he's sane, we're going to be all right in terms of having a pragmatic leader. And then there are some people who sit with him and get that vibe and then just don't believe it. Right. Having spent time with him, I do believe he's sincere. I think his deciding to keep the police commissioner was a very, very positive signal because she has a huge amount of gravitas and credibility with the rank and file police officers. And that was something that a lot of people in my camp were pushing.
So here's a question about that. Please. So as I live in New York City, and I think Jessica Tisch has done a fabulous job in the city. Yeah. And so that would be a good sign for him. Yeah. What I can't figure out is my understanding of all of this is that she will take this job under him with the proviso at some level that she has to be sort of left alone to go do this on a semi-autonomous way. So I think it's very easy in a way for him to say, I'll put you in the job, and for other folks to look at that and go, that's a good sign. And 3, 5 months from now, 6 months from now, say, hey, Jessica, I want to actually reallocate some of the money that you're using towards, reallocating certain police forces to do other things. And she says, that's not how we're going to do this. And then she walks out the door and, the city got the mayor that thought they were getting Jessica Tisch and they actually don't get Jessica Tisch. What do you make of that?
If something like that were to unfold a few months from now, or a few months after he takes office, if he wins, there'd be hell to pay because.
But there really wouldn't be hell to pay because he would be the mayor.
Well, there'd be hell to pay in terms of the police force, which, as someone who's been in this context, is a huge deal. And Zoran, I believe, realizes he has a lot of fences to mend. He's been apologizing to groups of them, saying, "Hey, I'm sorry about some of the things I've said in the past."
But you
think
that he disavows all the stuff that he said as recently as a couple of years ago?
I think
maybe. I wanted to just real quick. I wanted to jump back to what Sorkin said at the very beginning of his segment there when he was talking, and he was like, "Zoran hasn't done Squawk Box. He's been on CNBC, but he hasn't done Squawk Box." And I also noticed that Zoran Mamdani hasn't done Breaking Points. As you guys know, I love Breaking Points over here. I love the way they get down, with Saga and Crystal. And I was sitting here wondering why. Like, well, you would think, I know it's a local race, it's New York, but everyone, a lot of New Yorkers watch CNBC. A lot of New Yorkers watch Breaking Points. They just love that different take. Like they love the independent news from Breaking Points, and then they love the financial news and the way they cover stuff on CNBC. Why wouldn't you do that running for mayor. And I guess the answer, if you were to ask the campaign, they would tell you, oh, with scheduling difficulties or whatever. I think, Zoran wouldn't do CNBC because he probably can't gain anything from it. I would imagine that most of the folks who are hardcore CNBC, they're going to be older, they're going to be more established, they're going to be wealthier. And these are the people who are like, nah, bro, you come to take money. Like, I don't care if it's 2%. I don't care that, maybe it's not that big of a difference between the corporate rate that New Jersey pays versus New York. But he says he's going to raise the corporate rate to match that of New York, the tax rate. And these people are like, bro, you're going to take money from me. So I don't think that even if Zoran Mamdani came on CNBC, that he would get anything from it. Even if he had a good interview, people will walk away saying, yeah, he's well-spoken. Yeah, he has some good ideas. Nah, we ain't voting for him. Maybe that's why he didn't do the interview, because that's huge coverage. He did ABC, walking around the subways and all that kind of stuff. And the same thing with breaking points. It's like, well, why wouldn't you do breaking points? Because Crystal and Sagar, bro, they go hard when they interview, and they don't care. Republican or Democrat, they don't care. They're going to come in there and they're going to dig deep and they're going to hit you with some really tough questions. Maybe that campaign is saying, hey, bro, like, you're good, but what's the point of taking that chance and going on these two platforms when you're really not going to get that much from it? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Let me know in the comments below why you think that the Mamdani campaign didn't go on CNBC, didn't do breaking points, but did Flagrant and did the Breakfast Club. Let me know. Jon Stewart, he was on Jon Stewart's show, The Daily Show. You guys let me know what you think.
I think it's a huge win for the city, Jessica Tisch, and Zoran for him to say, look, you've got it. Because the fact is, he knows this is not something that he has a strength in. And if Jessica Tisch can manage right. a vast police force, that's good for everyone. Let me ask you a
different question, and it goes to this sort of capitalism, socialism thing. It's such an interesting, even debate that's happening in a city that basically is the capital of capitalism, if you will, for the world.
Yeah, we're sitting in it.
We're sitting in it. When I talk to people in the city who are voting for Zoran Mamdani, they say, Andrew, he's not a socialist. You don't understand. He's not a socialist. He's a democratic socialist. And I say, have you ever seen the things that this gentleman has said, even in the past, 24 months about socialism, about the idea that he genuinely, you can go online and he literally says that he would like the government to seize the means of production. The words came out of his mouth. He talks about how he wants that socialism, not democratic socialism, but socialism is his, what he is after. And the split screen of somebody who said those things, as I said, within 24, 36 months of today, and then effectively saying, I don't mean those things, I think is why there's a lot of people in the city who don't believe what he's saying.
There's a bad habit nowadays, Andrew, is that a political candidate will say something either in the recent past or, maybe right now. And then some voters will be like, he's just kidding. And we've seen that in different contexts. I think that Zoran's been pretty clear about where he stands on being a socialist. I think.
Where do you think he stands? Where do you think he stands?
Which is, he says, I'm a socialist. I believe him. And so if there's a voter who looks at it and be like, he's not, you should just ask the man himself. But if you look at the polling among Democratic primary voters, socialism isn't the smear or negative philosophy that like a lot of people like you and me and Becky, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this at home, regard it as, because a lot of folks have been living in what they see as capitalism in a way that hasn't worked for them. So I don't think socialism is like it's not hurting him with his base and a lot of Democratic primary voters. Polling?
Yeah, socialism, that term isn't hurting him at all. And the right, that's what they were going with. Not just the right, but the established Democrats. He's a socialist. Dude was like, yeah, I am. On some red man shit. Like, yeah, I'll be that. He's like, I'm a socialist. I'm not. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, bro, when I first heard that, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. But the reason I want this guy to win is because he's the dark horse. He's an outsider. I want to see if he can pull this shit off. Like, if he gets into New York, the New York mayor's office, can he do the things that he said he can do or wants to do, right? Can he provide universal child care? Can he keep the cost of living down with respect to rent freezes and rent control and stuff like that? Can he make the buses run faster and make buses free for New Yorkers to ride, for anyone to ride? Right? You know, what else was he talking about doing? I mean, it was so many things that he's talking about doing. Like, can he pull off the tax hikes? Right? Can he then take that money and reinvest it into the city in ways that's going to help New Yorkers? Can he get the city run grocery stores, one grocery store in East Borough? Like, these things, these are massive, massive moves. Can he pull it off? That's what I want to see. And, you know, they're about to talk about the polls. I've already showed you where the polls are. He's still ahead double digits, way outside of the margin of error. I mean, bro, if these numbers hold, it's like he'll be the next mayor. And I guess the final question would be, what I want to see is, how much grace, how much time will the people of New York give him to start making this stuff happen? And again, you call yourself a socialist, man. You want to call this man a socialist, whatever. Like I said this before, I said a million times. Corporations we have a socialized capitalism thing going on in America, right? And the people at the very top, the 1%ers, man, they are killing it right now. And the people at the bottom are they're getting just rocked. You look at what's going on right now. Millions of Americans are poised to lose their insurance. The Affordable Care Act, subsidies are gone. They're going to lose their insurance. They're not going to be able to afford it. Right? You got millions of people who are being laid off across the board, just laid off, because of AI and other reasons. You got millions of college students coming out with all this college loan debt, and they can't get entry-level jobs. Hell, they can't even get jobs at Walmart or Target. You feel me? Meanwhile, NVIDIA is pushing the stock market to the highest of highs, and that looks like a big Ponzi scheme, like a big old bubble. Just everything's tied to AI. Bro, this is where America is right now. I think the people of America, like the average working folks of America, is like, bro, can we get something? Something. The greed is extreme at the top. And when you get down to the bottom, bro, they're not as greedy. They just want to be able to afford groceries. They just want to be able to work maybe one job and have enough money, have a living wage where they can live the American dream. And they know they're not getting it with the traditional Republicans, the traditional Democrats, whatever. They're not even getting it with MAGA. Right? Trump is going to have all kinds of problems with MAGA right now. And the Democrats and the Republicans, the Americans in New York, are looking at this Mamdani guy, and it was like, you know what? The other people ain't giving a shit. Let's see what this guy can do. That's my take on it. Again, let me know how y'all feel.
Data suggests, because if you look at the prediction markets, they're saying it's 99% plus that Mamdani will win this election.
Right now, a betting person would say that Mamdani is on track to win, but the margin is definitely tightening based upon who's turning out to vote. That you've seen a surge of voters in the early precincts among people that are going to end up pulling for Cuomo. That's older voters, and that's voters in certain boroughs.
So how do you think about Cuomo? You know Cuomo.
Yeah.
By the way, he's a flawed candidate, too. All of these candidates are super flawed in all sorts of different ways. And some people are voting, that I know are voting for Cuomo, are doing it basically because they just can't pull the lever for Mamdani.
Yeah.
And they're doing it almost holding their nose because they think of him as a flawed candidate, given a lot of the reasons that he left the role as governor.
There are a lot of people in my circle who are doing the same. When I had lunch with Andrew Cuomo, he seemed like he'd grown, honestly. Like, spending time with him, he seemed like he'd matured, that where if you'd been through some of the stuff he's been through, you can either kind of shrink or expand. And it felt like he was in the race for good reasons. But voters are going to decide. They're deciding right now.
What does this say about money in New York City? There used to be a view that if you were wealthy in New York City, you were in the real estate industry or the banking business or what have you, given the amount of donations and everything else, that City Hall was controlled by the elites. And no, right? I think that
I don't know. I think this is pushback.
And this is
and it's
the
not just
ultimate
this election.
pushback.
This is what we are seeing across the country. People do not want to see, over the last decade plus, the elites controlling things. You look at it in the media, you look at it from the polling booths, you look at it from any perspective. That's one of the things that technology has allowed, is the upending of anybody controlling anything.
Well, Zoran's closing ads are, New York is not for sale, to your point. And so his message is, look, I'm going to return it to the people. And there are a lot of folks seeing that like, ooh, I like that, because they haven't enjoyed what they see as the period of elite control, which has gone for,
Bill Ackman, and I'm pointing over here
because
Bill Ackman was just here recently talking about the mayoral race, made a comment online in the past, say, 48 hours, suggesting that Polymarket and some of these other prediction markets could be rigged, and that actually you shouldn't necessarily believe them in terms of how far ahead Mamdani may very well be. And maybe he was saying that, frankly, to encourage folks who might otherwise not come out to the polls to vote for Cuomo to do so. Do you believe that these prediction markets can be rigged and are being rigged?
I think they can be wrong. I think they can be moved by a lot of people deciding to vote in a direction with their wallet. But I think it'd be very, very difficult to rig them for something this big. Not that long ago, people might not have as keen a sense of what is predicted to happen because these prediction markets weren't there. You might see polls and then candidates. And by the way, I've been a candidate. You know what you say when the when the polls aren't going your way? You say, it's okay. Like, we're going to get some new voters that like the pollsters can't even find. And that generally does not happen, though it did happen for Zoran in the primary. And it's one reason why he surprised a lot of people.
Assuming he does win, given that he is the front runner, what's your expectation in terms of how the White House and this administration ultimately treats the city of New York? Because thus far, we have not seen the National Guard in the streets of this city. But there is a lot of anxiety, perhaps, that we could. And by the way, we might, with Zoran Mamdani as the mayor, we might with Andrew Cuomo as the mayor. There are reasons to believe, though maybe conspiratorial, that we haven't seen the National Guard in this city because Eric Adams has been our mayor and he's been under the thumb of this president. And I think you can say that almost empirically to some degree, based on this unusual settlement that he reached with them.
All right, so I'm gonna leave it there. This interview is definitely going to be in the description below, so you guys can watch the rest of the interview. It's maybe another 6 or 7 minutes left. That last part when they're talking about, hey, if Mamdani is elected, then Trump is going to come and do the Trump thing. And I don't think anyone elected to that office, that mayor of New York, really cares that much about what Trump is going to try to do. I think that the mayor of New York is more concerned with what's going on in Albany, like what's going on with their governor, which their governor has endorsed Mamdani. So, I think that conversation and that argument doesn't really hold water. But I mean, I get it's a valid statement. It's a valid question to ask. It's something to think about. But Trump is going to do the Trump thing. Midterms are coming up. Next November, like 2026, MAGA is going to take a beating. Trump is going to take a beating. All incumbent presidents take a beating during midterms. But I think, especially if things keep going the way they're going now, MAGA is going to lose all their seats. Democrats are going to get some sort of control in the House. Of course, there's the gerrymandering. There's like they're moving the lines and all that. The Republicans are doing everything they can to hold on to power. It is what it is. But there are a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of fair weather MAGA people, and then regular Republicans, GOP types that aren't happy with what's going on. And I'm telling you, man, it's the pocketbook. Right? Groceries are going up. Gas is, going up slowly. There's a lot of problems right here. There's a lot of Republicans are mad about that, $40 billion that got sent down to Argentina. No one knows where it came from. We got a war, seemingly, we're going to have a war here in any minute now with Venezuela, unnecessary. And Maduro doesn't even want the smoke. He's like, bro, y'all can have whatever y'all want down here. And this administration seems to be, nope, we want to go to war. And then all the rest of the stuff. The Middle East is still crazy. Like, what happened to the peace deal seems to have fallen apart in the Middle East. Maybe they can, get that back, because Israel doesn't seem to be keeping the peace. They're doing what they're doing. Russia, Ukraine. Bro, it's so much going on in America right now. The Epstein thing, there's so much going on. The bottom line, I think the bottom line is this. Americans are hurting. And they voted for a president to come in to stop the pain. The president came in and increased the pain and doesn't seem to care. right? You got all this stuff going on. You're firing people from the government. United States government is the #1 employer of Americans in America. Like the Doge thing was crazy. We got the government shut down right now. You got people about to lose their insurance. You got that big, beautiful bill that they call it that went through, and all that money is going to the 1%. Trump's destroying parts of the White House so he can build a ballroom, putting National Guard members like in harm's way in American streets, talking to the military, saying we might have to send, active duty U.S. soldiers into American streets. All this stuff is insane. And then again, it's like, where's all this money coming from? Right. Meanwhile, the national debt, where is it at? 38 trillion right now? I don't know. It might be higher than that. But anyway, it's crazy right now. But this Zorhan thing, I'm just curious to see what would happen. I hope the guy wins. Not that I'm a fan of socialism or anything like that. I want to see what this guy can do. The fact that someone who was an outsider, a true dark horse, managed to get past the gatekeepers, the Democratic gatekeepers, and can win, an election in New York for the mayor, to be the mayor of New York. That's a major, major win. That, to me, that just shows that there may be a shift in American politics. Because if Zoran Mamdani can do it, almost anyone can do it in America. Then you start looking at the other blue states, and you look at some of the red states. Like, have folks who get past the gatekeepers and can stay and don't need the 1%ers of money to get a seat. That's going to really change things in America. At least that's what I'm thinking. You guys let me know what you're thinking. Yeah, this is cool. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. This is why I like politics. You just never know what's going to happen with politics. American politics. Yo, my man, Dino Dinosaur, he's in the UK. He loves to follow American politics. You guys to see us in the comments going back and forth. That's my man, 100 grand. That's my dude. And I'm like starting to learn what's going on over there in his country with their political system, because I don't know anything about it. Like Labor and the Tories, and I don't even know. I'm trying to learn. I don't even know how their stuff work. I just know that, they got to stand up and argue with both sides of the house. It's crazy. But I'm going to learn more, because if Brother Dino can learn our system and, know about the way we do politics over there, I should be able to know what's going on and understand their system and be able to converse with him on their politics over there. So shout out to you, brother. Dino Dinosaur, you're my guy. I appreciate your comments, and everyone else. I appreciate y'all comments. Please keep them coming. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Even if you got something negative to say, man, I want to hear it. Like, if you say something that's just dumb, doesn't make any sense to me, I'm just not going to respond to it. But if you have a true criticism, or you have some sort of critique, or you have a statement, man, please put it in the comments. I want to read it. I want to know. I mean, this is why we call this platform that I Really Want to Know podcast. I'm DL Saint. I appreciate y'all, man. I really do. And I'll see you soon. Peace. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for watching my video. And if you don't mind, leave a like or a comment. Either way, it would be amazing. And YouTube thinks you'll like this video, or maybe that video. So either way, thanks again. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace.